Learning styles, auditory. Learning styles refer to the different ways individuals prefer to acquire, process, and retain information. While some people may learn best through visual aids or reading, others may learn better through auditory input. Auditory learners are those who prefer to learn through listening, rather than reading or seeing. In this essay, we will explore the characteristics of auditory learners, their strengths, challenges, and some tips on how to effectively teach and learn as an auditory learner. Auditory learners are individuals who process information best when they hear it. They are often described as good listeners and enjoy participating in discussions, debates, and presentations. They have a good sense of rhythm, tone, and pitch and can easily identify and remember sounds. They may also have an excellent memory for spoken words and may prefer to read out loud to themselves when studying. One of the main strengths of auditory learners is their ability to focus on what they hear. They can easily tune out visual distractions and concentrate on the sound or voice that they are listening to. This makes them good listeners and helps them to retain information better when it is presented in an auditory format. They are also able to pick up on verbal cues, such as tone of voice and inflection, which can help them to understand the meaning behind the words. Another strength of auditory learners is their ability to remember information that is presented to them in a verbal format. They may find it easier to remember information that they hear in a lecture or a podcast, rather than reading it in a book. This is because they are able to associate the information with the sound and rhythm of the speaker's voice, which helps them to recall the information later. However, there are also some challenges that auditory learners may face when it comes to learning. For example, they may find it difficult to learn through reading or studying silently, as they may become distracted or bored without the sound stimulation. This can make it difficult for them to focus on reading or writing tasks, which can impact their performance in exams or written assignments. Additionally, they may struggle with visual learning aids, such as graphs, charts, and diagrams, as they may not be able to associate the visual information with the sound that they need to process it. To overcome these challenges, auditory learners can use some techniques to help them learn effectively. For example, they can use audio recordings of lectures or podcasts to reinforce their learning. They can also read out loud to themselves when studying, which can help them to remember the information better. Additionally, they can participate in discussions and debates with others, which can help them to process and retain information better through listening. As a teacher or tutor, it is important to understand the learning style of your students, including auditory learners. This can help you to tailor your teaching methods to suit their preferences and strengths. Here are some tips on how to effectively teach auditory learners. Use verbal explanations and discussions. Instead of relying solely on written materials, incorporate verbal explanations and discussions into your teaching. This can help auditory learners to process and retain information better. Use visual aids with verbal explanations. While auditory learners may struggle with visual aids alone, they can be effective when used in conjunction with verbal explanations. For example, you can use a graph or chart and explain it verbally at the same time. Provide opportunities for group discussions. Auditory learners thrive in group discussions, debates, and presentations. Encourage participation in class discussions and group activities. Use audio recordings. Audio recordings of lectures or podcasts can be a useful tool for auditory learners to reinforce their learning. Use mnemonic devices. Mnemonic devices, such as songs, rhymes, or acronyms, can be a helpful tool for auditory learners to remember information. In conclusion, auditory learners are individuals who prefer to learn through listening. They have a strong sense of rhythm, tone, and pitch, and are able to remember information presented in a verbal format. However, they may face challenges when it comes to learning through reading or visual aids. As a teacher or tutor, it is important to understand their learning style and use appropriate teaching methods to help them learn effectively. By incorporating verbal explanations, visual aids, group discussions, and audio recordings, you can help auditory learners to achieve their full potential.